Hello and welcome to another episode of the Corner 3 here on Pittsburgh Sports Live in the Beaver County Auto Studios. Cale, Berger, Alan, Saunders as always. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Jay-Z to join us here today on the show, but we're going to be talking about him a little bit later as well.
He may show up later.
He might.
We invited him.
We're gonna tease it. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
But first things first, we want to get to I think the biggest event that's happened since our last show, and that was Pitt Duke last night at the Petersen Events Center. The Panthers ended up falling to the Blue Devils. I believe it was 79-64.
Yeah.
Final score. Pitt was in this game for a decent portion of that first half. I mean, they had a lead at one point. I believe it was 16-14 was when they had the lead, and then the Blue Devils kind of just went on a run and didn't really look back. Terrell Brown got in some foul trouble early. Kenny Chukwuka had to come in the game for the Panthers. He wasn't really able to feel comfortable or really handle, I guess, what Duke was doing. He really looked out of his element there. And Xavier Johnson and Trey McGowan's got them things going together early, but Duke made it difficult for them, as you would expect, and the Panthers came away with the 15-point loss. But I think a lot of positives to take away, and we also got our first look at Duke in person, and they didn't disappoint. No.
They're so good.
They are.
Zion Williamson is incredible. The guy is, I don't know how to describe what he looks like running down the, it looks like Iron Man.
It's funny.
He's enormous.
The guy, it's funny, I overheard someone sitting by me yelling at Zion in pregame warm-up saying, "Zion, what are you doing out there? You're a 3 technique." Because he looks like a defensive lineman.
He could totally be a defensive end. I've never seen a basketball player that I thought that about. That he could legitimately be a pass-rushing defensive end.
And he's got the athleticism, obviously. He's got the quickness.
He gets up.
He does.
That's the thing. I've seen big dudes play basketball before. I've never seen a big dude jump like that. It's incredible.
What was funny to me is sitting there watching the pregame warm-ups. Zion, they were going through the layup lines, and he wasn't dunking. He was getting like a bounce pass, an alley-oop, but he was just laying it in. And I noticed him running back to the line to look at his teammates, and he was kind of giggling. And he's laughing, and he's like, giving a little smirk. And I realized, 2 or 3 layups in, that he wasn't dunking on purpose. He was going to make the fans wait. And hey, I mean, I like the pettiness. I like that from Zion. I mean, he'll do fine in the NBA in that category.
You think he's the first overall pick?
I do think that R.J. Barrett is the better all-around player. I think he's the best all-around player. But Zion is so much of a freak, and that the potential is there that you have to just take him if you're the first pick, I think. Also, you have to think about the marketing, the hype, and that kind of buzz you can create about your team as well.
To me, I think that's the kind of difference. If it's a team that feels like they're one piece away from competing, then maybe R.J. Barrett is the guy. But I don't know how you end up picking first if you feel that.
Exactly.
But if maybe a team just turns into a lot of injuries or something like that.
Yeah.
And they feel like they're close enough. They have good players to put around him. But if it's just a team that has nothing and they're lost in the woods,
well, it's probably going to be the Cavaliers.
I mean, I don't know. It's certainly not.
Of course,
it's certainly not settled. But I mean, I think Zion is the guy that brings people to the games. He could be your whole offense. You don't need to There's nobody in the NBA that can guard that one-on-one. Maybe Durant. I don't know. That was my only thought.
I mean, probably LeBron. Kawhi Leonard, I think, probably could.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean
LeBron's given up 40 pounds to him.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that's
here's what. And this may be another one of my hot takes. We should get a buzzer that kind of goes off. I'm be honest. I was sitting there prior to the game, and I was looking at Zion, and you got a buzzer sound effect for me? Let's see it.
Oh, that's lame.
That was terrible.
Terrible.
Oh, maybe that's a bad omen of how bad this take is. But I was looking at Zion in the pregame warm-ups, and as he was doing this little charade and stuff, here's our buzzer sound. Oh, those are fireworks.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take the fireworks.
Fireworks are good.
I'll take the fireworks. I was looking at Zion before the game, going through these pregame warm-ups and the stretches and stuff, and this may be a really hot take even for me. Yeah. He didn't look as big as I expected.
What?
He was certainly big, but
his arms are like both of mine put together.
I didn't think he was.
He's not that tall.
He was not as tall.
He's only like 6'7", 6'6", 6'7".
And what were they saying? He's like 6'8"?
No, 6'7". I think he's listed at 6'7".
He looked like 6'5" to me, 6'6".
I don't know.
I mean, we're pulling straws here. I mean, it's like 1 inch, but I didn't
I just
think
generally assume that every college basketball player's height is at least an inch exaggerated.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So if he's listed at 6'6", he's probably
because R.J. Barrett didn't look that tall as well either, and he's listed at like 6'6",
6'7", 6'8", I think.
Is he?
Yeah.
So he didn't look that really as tall either. But Zion, I think what the biggest thing for him is obviously we know the camera adds 10 pounds, and we've all just watched him on TV. So I think. He is a physically imposing player, obviously. But I think what makes him appear even bigger than he is just his style of play. And that was something that I think really impressed me throughout this game was his motor. For a guy that is going to be the first overall pick, most likely, in the NBA draft, for as much hype, for as many Instagram followers as ESPN wants to remind you that he plays with a motor that is I think, as good as any top prospects I've ever seen.
He's a good teammate.
He's a good teammate, too.
7 assists.
Exactly. I mean, he has a kind of an all-around game that I think a lot of people weren't giving credit for, but really it's his hustle. And that's why he was 9 for 9 in the first half, because he went after every offensive rebound. He fought to get to the rim, even when Pitt was not doing, I wouldn't say doing a great job of defending him, but they were getting in his face and they were trying to make things difficult for them as best they could. I was really impressed with the way that he just was grinding in that first half and getting tough baskets and fighting for every loose ball, which honestly is something that I'm not used to seeing from a player of his caliber.
Yeah. Joe Steigerwald, who's our web designer at Pittsburgh Sports Now, asked us if Zion Williamson was on the Panthers, they would be a top what team?
I think that if Zion was on Pitt, I think they'd be in the top 25, but I'm not going to go out and say they'd be like a top 10 team. I think Pitt, obviously, and we saw it last night as well, they clearly have holes elsewhere, and one player is not going to make a team for you. But I think if you had...
It'd come pretty close.
It would come close. But if you had Zion, Xavier Johnson, Trey McGowan's, those guys, I think you could get like a top 10 to 15 team maybe. But I think also...
Like, I think they'd be like pretty even with Carolina
probably,
at that point.
Probably. Yeah. But I think one thing you got to take into account too, and this is not a knock on Zion per se, just his current seems to be his current situation is, these great players that play with other great players, they're getting more open shots than they would anywhere else per se. I mean, you look at Kevin Durant, where he was with the Thunder, where he's with the Warriors, he's still the same player, he's still the second best player in the world, but his shots are way more open when he plays for Golden State. And Zion's not known as being a jump shooter, but still, I think teams will be able to key in on him more if he wasn't playing on a team with R.J. Barrett, Cam Reddish, with all those other Duke players. So I would have to say that Duke would probably be a Pitt team with Zion would be 8 to 15 in there, maybe, I would think. Because I think a few of the games that Pitt has lost, they would have won. They would definitely have won if they had Zion.
They'd beat West Virginia.
Would have beat West Virginia.
They'd beat Iowa.
Would have beat Iowa.
They'd probably beat NC State.
NC State as well.
And
maybe Syracuse.
I don't know. Syracuse beat Zion on Duke. So
that's a good point.
So maybe we'll give the Orange some credit.
Yeah.
What do we got next?
Next I want to touch on the Dukes. They got a big game coming up as well.
All right, before we get to the Dukes, I want to talk about the zoo because you were there.
Yes.
That pictured Cale.
I completely forgot.
Somewhere, he's right there. I don't know. He's in there somewhere.
I can tell you, I wasn't shirtless or had anything painted on me. That's for sure.
That's an image I didn't need. So, the zoo is incredible.
Yeah.
The whole building was bouncing up and down, and one of the best atmospheres that I've seen in the Pete in my time covering the team, which dates back to 2015. Maybe the best atmosphere, I think. I can recall there. And it didn't last the whole game. Obviously, there's still, the team's not as good. But the way that the crowd showed up and was into the game, I thought it mattered. I thought when Pitt tied the game at 11 and then took a lead it was 15-13, then it was 16-14 or something like that. 13-11 and 16-14. The crowd was making a difference in the game, and that's huge. It's huge for this program. I mean, that is so much of Jeff Capel's job. Yeah, he's got to win basketball games, but the reason that Pitt needed a guy like him, the reason that Heather spent the money that it took to get a guy like him was to re-engage the fan base with the basketball team, and he's already done that. And they haven't even won anything of note yet. Incredible to me.
One of his, I think, toughest challenges early on was not only getting some players in here and getting some wins early to kind of get some buzz started again, was winning back the trust of this fan base. And I think that's something that he's clearly done to this point. It's only going to continue to grow as the Jeff Capel era continues. I have to agree. I can't believe I completely forgot about the Zoo, but they were electric in this game, and they were off the charts. It was packed. It reminded me of the Jamie Dixon days where there were students waiting at 10 a.m., sleeping inside the Pete, trying to get the best seat inside. I have to admit, I'm not one of those guys. We'll show up when the game's starting, and we'll sit where we sit. But in this being my fourth year at Pitt, I have to say this is definitely the best atmosphere I've seen. As a student there at the University of Pittsburgh, because I was came to Pitt at a tough time with the stalling years and stuff, and great that at my final year I get to experience with Jeff Capel being there. It was definitely really exciting in there. They were ecstatic. The chirping started from the minute that they got in the game, that they got in the arena. They were chirping at Duke during the pregame warm-ups, during the stretches, and you got some smirks and stuff out of Zion because there were some pretty good zingers that were thrown towards him and R.J. Barrett. But there was another guy that was in the Pete as well that I think we need to mention.
This guy,
Hove.
You may have heard of him.
Jay-Z.
Yeah.
He was sitting courtside, and it was funny. I was sitting along the baseline behind by Pitt's bench, behind the basket, and some guy behind me, I hear him go, "Is that Jay-Z?" And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I look over, and he goes, "It's Jay-Z." And I look, and sure enough, he was there. He was in the front row, right in front of the Zoo, courtside seat, just hanging out there with a few of his friends. I don't know who else he was with. Beyonce was not there, unfortunately. Neither was Blue Ivy. But it was definitely a sight to see, and I think we were all kind of baffled by it to see him there. But I think I know what his intentions were. He was clearly trying to, get a look at Zion and RJ Barrett. But I think that's a subtle recruiting tactic for him. He knows they're going to be coming out, and he has his sports management company or representation. Rock Nation. I think that's a little recruiting move by Jay-Z trying to say, hey, why don't you come sign with me?
Absolutely. But I think it also goes to show, to me, the power that Jeff Capel's name has.
Yeah.
That, listen, Jay-Z can go to a Duke game wherever he wants. Right, I mean, he could go see those guys at every building in the country.
But he came to the Pete.
Would make front row seats available for Jay-Z, but he came to the Pete. It wasn't the ACC tournament. It wasn't one of those preseason exempt games where they're playing in Madison Square Garden, or they played the big game, the big tournament in Indiana, didn't they? The preseason one.
Yeah.
They played Michigan State, I think, out there.
Yeah.
Wasn't there. I mean, they played some big games. He came to Pitt because of Jeff Capel.
Yeah, apparently, and obviously you were in the press conference after. What was his explanation for?
Jeff just said Jay-Z's people reached out, and he said he wanted to go to the game, and Pitt's ticketing people made it happen, and they probably owe some donors a whole bunch for giving up some courtside seats to Duke. I don't know. That'd be great. If you're a Pitt donor that gave up your seat to Jay-Z, I want to write that story because that would be awesome.
I want to know what they got out of it.
Yeah, I want to know what they got. Because you could essentially just ask for whatever you want at that point, right? I mean, because they got to pay up.
I mean, you have to, because, I mean, obviously every athletic department cares about their donors and is focused on the donors, and that's definitely a heck of a trade-off there.
Yeah, I want to know what the going rate is to give up your courtside seats to Jay-Z for Pitt.
But what I really want to know, too, is obviously when he came to Pitt, that one of the big storylines and stuff you saw on Twitter was when Tupac wore Jeff Capel's jersey. That was a big thing, and now that you see that Jay-Z's people reached out to him, I'm just curious of how many people Jeff Capel knows and how in he is.
All of the people.
Because the guy is clearly if President Obama showed up at the next Pitt home game,
would not totally shock me.
Unfazed.
No.
I'd be unfazed because clearly the guy knows everybody.
Yeah.
And it's not just like like the legend E.J. Borghetti knows everybody. It's like, no, Jeff Capel's like buddies with everybody.
Well, I think a part of it is he's just like a great guy. Like,
yeah.
And listen, I deal with coaches all the time. Most coaches are like weird and like prickly in social situations and like not people that you want to spend like days and days hanging out with.
That's not their job.
It's not their
basketball
job. But
coach.
like I don't want to go. Yeah. I don't want to go like to the bar with like Jim Boeheim after the game. Like Jim's a great coach. I don't have anything against him. No, but he just personality wise he's not like a personable guy. Yeah. Jeff is the nicest guy in the universe. Like, I don't want to go hang out with him all the time.
You know what? No, I do agree he's a nice guy, but there's one guy who definitely has the title of nice guy in the universe, and that's Lance White.
Lance White is
Pitt women's basketball coach. He is genuinely the nicest person I've ever met in my life. He treats me better than my own family.
Yeah.
I mean, he is.
Pitt has some very nice basketball coaches.
They did their homework, and they understood. I mean, hey, we need to get good people in here. So, yeah, that really, I just want to see who the next celebrity is that Jeff Capel, that their people reach out to him and he gets to come to the Pete.
You want to make a prediction here? You've got a guess who's the next, who comes to the Pete?
We talking like bold predictions.
I'm talking like just a notable celebrity. Who's the next notable celebrity that makes? I mean, Sally Wiggin was there last night, and I consider that to be a notable celebrity.
Absolutely a celebrity. I'm gonna say within the next 3 years,
Avonte Maddox and Quadri Henderson were there too.
Yeah, you're right. I saw them as well.
And like half the Pitt football team, which is kind of cool.
Kenny Pickett got a picture with Jay-Z.
Jay-Z got a picture with Kenny Pickett.
That's a good point. Yeah, I'm really sorry. Bold prediction: within the next 3 years, we're gonna see LeBron James at a Pitt basketball game.
I think we'll see LeBron James at our next topic.
We will.
I think you're more likely to see LeBron James at a Duquesne basketball.
Oh yeah, okay. I wasn't sure what you were referring to.
This is a great segue, but
that is a good segue.
I'll give my guess first before we make the segue. How about? Steph went to a game last year. So, like, I was going to say that, but then he was at a Pitt game last year.
Yeah, but wasn't at the Pete?
No, it wasn't at the Pete. It was in Barclays Center.
Because he was playing, like,
they had a game the next day there, and it was, like, an off day in New York.
Yeah.
I'll say...
I think you got to go bigger than Jay-Z, and I went LeBron, so who else?
I don't know. There's nothing bigger than Jay-Z. You can't get bigger than Jay-Z, can you?
LeBron.
Like Obama. That would be like the only...
Obama, LeBron, MJ, Jay-Z.
It won't be MJ.
I mean, it wouldn't be MJ, but...
I don't know. I'm going to have to take a pass on this.
Come on. You posed the question to me.
Well, I just need some time to think about it here. Well, I think... Yeah, I don't know. Wiz is a celebrity here.
You know what? Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen Wiz yet, because but they embraced Mac Miller, obviously, rightly so. We'll see if they embrace Wiz Khalifa as well.
I think
as the official team
Wiz
soundtrack. Wiz will happen soon.
I think so.
I agree.
LeBron, who I think he'll come to a Duquesne game before he comes. How about the first Duquesne game at the Chuck Cooper Fieldhouse? LeBron James makes an appearance. It's not out of the question at all.
No, and obviously Keith Dan brought his high school coach, now the coach of the Dukes, and he's got them on a tear right now. 4-1.
Let's get rid of Hope.
4-1 in the A10. Keep him up there for the rest.
We'll put him
forever. 4-1 in the A10. They got a big game tonight against the 5-0 in conference St. Louis Billikens. Big game tonight, 8:00 at the Palumbo Center.
Yeah, nothing else going on. No Penguins, no Pitt, not even Robert Morris. So Duke's center stage for first place in the A10. Really happy for Keith. Really happy for that program to be in this position. I mean, they've done such a good job in the last 2 or 3 years, from that hire, from the way he's rebuilt the talent level of that program. They've got so many good players that are freshmen. They're all freshmen and sophomores. He's got too many. He doesn't even know what to do with them all. And they're playing really well. They're starting to come together as a team. I think that took a long time for them, just because when you're playing 12, 13 guys, a lot of them are young. It's tough. But they're starting to play together a little bit more. Tough game. St. Louis is a tough team. I saw them earlier this year against Pitt at Barclays Center, and they're physical. It's going to be like a kind of like an old school Big East game. I feel like it's going to be some rock'em sock'em robots. They've got a really big forward named Hassan French who just loves to bang.
But he can't hit a free throw, and we saw that.
No, he cannot hit a free throw. And they've got some really talented guards as well. I'm really excited for the game. I think it's gonna. I'm actually a bit disappointed I'm not going, but I'm working every other night this week, and I don't want to get killed.
You need a break.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I needed a break like 6 months ago.
Yeah, this is a game I'm kind of. I wish I was going to be attending as well because I think this is a great matchup, and I really love A10 basketball. Obviously, we talked about A10 a few weeks ago, but this is a good league, and these are two of the best teams in this league, and I think two teams that, I mean, maybe St. Louis, we weren't really sure what we were going to see from Duquesne this year, but clearly they've come out and had a lot of success early on, and it's all been because of Sincere Carey. He has been really fantastic so far this year. Right now, leads the A10 in assist rate and is second in steal percentage.
And I think he's in the top 10 in the country in assists per game as a freshman.
Yeah, he's the guy who, we all talk about Xavier Johnson being the freshman phenom point guard in Pittsburgh. Sincere Carey's been, I think, just as good for the Dukes as well.
Yeah, and a really big stretch because Duquesne has St. Louis tonight and then VCU Saturday, both at the Palumbo Center. That's the top three teams in the A10 right now. And you win both of those, and I think you're in the driver's seat.
Absolutely.
And then, you go 1-1 or you lose. You got to find a way back into it, but great for them to be in this position at this point in the season, at this point in their rebuild. I think ahead of schedule for Dambrot and the Dukes.
No, definitely.
What else we got?
Do you want to take some more questions here?
Do we have more questions that are sensical?
I think we got like one or two.
Right.
Our good friend Mike Osti sent us one. It's kind of a fun one here. Will the NBA just do the right thing and allow Melo to wear a hoodie during the games when he's signed by a new team? And it's kind of what I want to... Weird thing I want to... I do want to touch on this a little bit because we saw that Melo decided that I guess he signed with the Bulls and then the Bulls immediately released him. I think the Rockets still have his rights, traded him and cash to the Bulls, and then the Bulls immediately released him. But I didn't think that he was still on the Rockets. But apparently they still have his rights as a player. And then they took him and released him strictly for tax purposes. That is a sad day when Carmelo Anthony is being just...
He's a tax write-off.
He's a tax write-off. Being tossed around the NBA for tax incentives. It's a tough fall from grace for Melo. But what team did he have the better career with is what I want to know. The Hawks or the Bulls? Because he was on both teams for under a day.
Well, I mean... I think the Bulls just because it's more of a circus.
I agree. I think it's more ridiculous that he was on the Bulls for a day. So I would say the Bulls, but Melo Hawks, Ring of Honor, all-timer.
I think he's just secretly trying to play for every team.
Well, he's still and me and Mike Osti and I who posed the question, we had a discussion a few months ago. Did we think Melo would play again? And I told him no. I said I think he needs to pack it in, retire, save face, and just ride off into the sunset and stop trying so hard to be on a contender and to keep playing. Oh, look, they got him on the Wikipedia. It's two sentences, his time with the Chicago Bulls.
He got a $2.6 million luxury tax write-off from the Rockets on that deal.
I don't know how... I wish I knew how NBA finances worked, or just taxes in general. But... it really makes no sense to me, but hey, if it's going to save you some money, I get it. You're already paying James Harden $50 million or whatever it is in the coming years. But no, I want them to let him wear the hoodie because maybe he can have one last hurrah and one last great performance as Melo, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think we'll see him play. I've heard the Lakers, but why the hell would they take Carmelo Anthony?
Just because LeBron has always wanted to play with them.
But LeBron's smarter than that, and he knows what is he going to provide this team. He's not a great shooter as he once was. He's not going to defend. He's not going to rebound. Their problems are they can't defend, they struggle at times rebounding, and they can't shoot the three.
Yeah, he's not what they need, but I still think it'll happen.
I really hope not. I really hope not for the sake of Melo. One more kind of question I do want to touch on here. This is from a good buddy of mine, Arthur Mueller. Not going to actually address his question, but address some kind of the talk surrounding the question. He said Memphis is reportedly willing to listen to offers from Mike Conley. Where did Mike Conley go to college, and what's your favorite song that references Mike Conley? I have to say he went to The Ohio State University. My favorite song that references Mike Conley is Hand Claps and Guitars by Chitty Bang, one of the most underrated rap groups ever. I think that's a really hot take there, if you knew what I was talking about. But the Memphis Grizzlies apparently are saying now... It took you 20 minutes to find one.
Listen.
Mike Conley and Marc Gasol are apparently being shopped currently by the Memphis Grizzlies, a signal that they are deciding to pack it in and rebuild fully, and I think, honestly, it's a good decision. They're kind of stuck in that middle-tier area where they're paying both these guys a lot of money, especially Mike Conley, the one-time highest paid player in NBA history, because he was the first one to sign that Supermax contract a few summers ago. I think it's a good move by the Grizzlies. You got some young talent in Jaren Jackson Jr., Dillon Brooks. Get rid of these guys. Get what you can for them. Send them off somewhere. They only have a few years left, and honestly, should probably just go full rebuild.
There's a lot of good players out there right now.
There are.
I don't know what they're gonna. I don't know that they're gonna get. Like,
I think there's teams that would potentially take Mike Conley. I'd have to look at the standings and see who's kind of who could even take him. Marc Gasol is interesting because Marc Gasol is a guy that can. Still has a versatile game. He's maybe not the player he once was after some of the injuries the last few years, but he can shoot a three.
I think
he can still score on guys.
Go to LA.
Could go to LA.
I think there will be certainly markets for both. I'm just not sure that Memphis is going to get some sort of franchise saving haul back, and that's unfortunate because that's what they kind of need.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe the Heat are a team that I think could maybe make a deal for Mike Conley. They have some cap space. They're still paying Hassan Whiteside a lot of money, but they're also trying this new thing with Justice Winslow being their point guard, which apparently has been working out for them. And in the West, I don't really see a team that needs a point guard. Outside, actually, San Antonio. I could see San Antonio making a deal for Mike Conley. That might honestly be the most possible destination, or even the best fit, because he fits in what they're trying to do perfectly. Jonte Murray, obviously out with the torn ACL this year, and they're at the 6th seed right now, still trying to make a run. They have Aldridge, they have DeRozan. I really like Mike Conley to the Spurs. Just a matter if they can get it done.
Last one. What would your plan with Markelle Fultz be if you were the Sixers?
I would say...
I think we talked about this.
We did. We talked about it a few weeks ago. I would say trade him away, cut your losses, try to get what you can for him. It seems to be a lost cause with him, and I think he just needs a change of scenery.
But I think I'd wait till the offseason.
I probably would too, because maybe you'll get better value then, and he'll be more recovered from this whatever this injury is.
Yeah, and I just think you bring everybody back into the fold as far as like a team like Memphis is right now focused on selling, but all of a sudden this offseason they'll be like, well, we got to put a roster together, and people have heard of this guy, so I just think.
I think there's a team that will take a chance on him and give him a shot, and. There's still maybe potential there, and clearly he hasn't panned out. But
they're going to have to take like a big loss on the value.
They absolutely.
They're not going to get.
No, not at all. But I think you need to still cut your losses and just get him out of there because it's not working, obviously.
No,
and
he's got to go. I think so.
Yeah, definitely has to go. But that'll do it for us today here.
So
yeah, Billy agrees. Bring back Jay-Z. There we go. That's going to do it for us here today on the Corner 3 on Pittsburgh Live in the Beaver County Auto Studios. Once again, want to remind you to subscribe, follow Alan on Twitter.
Oh yeah, we do. We hit a big milestone.
Did we?
1,000 subscribers at the Pittsburgh Sports Live channel.
Love it.
So great. Thank you all. We really appreciate it, and keep smashing that subscribe button. And
Yeah, thank you for your support so much here in the Corner 3 and at the larger Pittsburgh Sports Live. That's going to do it for us here today. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Corner 3.